Hi there, it's Mr. Clark. Welcome to lesson 9.1.2 on 575 chords in the basic phrase model. So, because 575 chords decorate 5, you're going to analyze them as dominant. Just like if you have 5 chords that are decorating 1, they're part of tonic. They're decorating 5, so they're part of dominant. That means that they'll often be preceded by predominant chords, which means we're going to want to look at voice leading. So we have very short phrases here going from 1 to 5, half cadences, I guess, if you think of them as complete phrases. So our first one here, we're in the key of A. We go 1 to 4 to, I'll do that again. 1, 2, 4 to 5, 7 to 5 to 5. And what you should notice here is that we have 4 to short of 5, keeping that chromatically ascending voice in one, ascending line in one voice, because you have that chromatic pull upwards. Here we have the same thing, we just put a 2 chord in instead of a 4 chord, very similar. So that's that. Again, we keep that chromatic in the upper voice. Another common thing is to have the chromatic in the bass voice by having a 5, 6, 5 of 5. And that's going to sound like this with a 4 chord. Or with a 2 chord. Nope, that's not it. So that's what's going on here. The other way that you can do it if you don't want to have that chromatic ascent would be to have a voice exchange. So in a normal predominant to dominant thing here, we would have a voice exchange from 4-6 to 2-6-5. Still in the key of A, so we start on a 4 chord, passing to a 2 chord, and then land on 5, our dominant. And you can just turn that last chord into a secondary dominant instead by raising your 4 to a shore, and it'll sound like this. So just adds a little extra kick, a little extra push towards that dominant chord. And notice also that our dominant label has moved back because now this is decorating 5. So both of these are pretty common. A cross relation is what you call it when you have a diatonic version of a note in one chord and a chromatic version of the same note in an adjacent chord, which is a fancy way of saying you have a D in one chord and then a D sharp in the next chord in a different voice. The good thing about the voice exchange is it puts this buffer passing chord in the middle, so we don't need to worry about that. But when you're going from a predominant chord directly to a secondary dominant, it's pretty common to have that happen. So just to review some voice leading stuff, this first example we don't like because of that cross relation. It's just hard to hear and sing, so it falls under the easy to sing point of counterpoint. So our first example, there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but like going from F sharp to D sharp, that's a diminished third, weird to sing. This is a better example because you have it all in one voice, just moving up by half steps. Sorry. This is okay because of the voice exchange sort of thing, where you have B going to B, D going to D sharp. Here it was D going to D sharp, but then F sharp going to B. So that was weird. This one's okay. It's better with a passing chord. It's also kind of okay because sorry. It would be better if there were a passing chord in the middle. It would be better if the chromatic tone were in an inner voice to obscure it a little bit more, but we'll accept it. Next one is okay. The leap to sharp 4 is in the bass. Sometimes you just gotta do that because you're given Roman numerals with inversions, and that's just how it goes. So if you get that, that's okay. We'll deal with that. But then this last one is not good because we're in minor now, and we have an augmented second. So you always want to watch and make sure we don't have those augmented and diminished intervals. So now we're in A minor. And we're starting on 1. Like, that's fine, but if you're the alto and you have to go da, 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 kind of funky. So just want to be careful about that. So things to think about when you're voice leading from the predominant to a secondary dominant. See you next time.